Welcome to the How to Be Human podcast, presented by InnerG. Here we speak our truth and discuss anything and everything from social events to relationships and up to hot button topics. Pour yourself a drink, sit back and relax, because we're on with the show. In this episode, Team InnerG, Queen Rajah, Bobby, Jazzy, Evan, and Amada are talking about a post where a youth-led organization has reached out to rookie cops in an attempt to bring unity between police and the community in the Lawndale, Chicago area. Community group My Block, My Hood, My City in Chicago's North Lawndale area has built a bridge with local law enforcement rookies that are close to graduating from the academy by taking a walking tour of the city and discussing the good, bad, and general aspects of their area. Do you feel like this is a viable de-escalating tactic that the rest of the nation should duplicate?
So they're walking and they're talking with who?
Basically, it's a bunch of rookie cops, maybe about a month away from graduating, from the academy, and they're like taking tours of the city, discussing like the problem areas, the good parts, just discussing the city in general, the needs of the community, that kind of thing.
Who are they discussing this with, though, is the biggest question for me. With just the rookies?
Yes.
And the higher-ups in the police?
No, these are just the rookie cops.
But just discussing
Who's
amongst themselves?
Who's doing the tour?
Just the rookies.
No,
There's no community engagement then.
No, this is community engagement. If you're listening, community group, My Block, is their name. My Block, My Hood, My City, in Chicago's North Lawndale area has built a bridge with local law enforcement rookies that are close to graduating from the academy by taking a walking tour of the city and discussing the good, bad, and general aspects of their area.
Isn't that where organized crime started? Just saying. I don't know. Yeah, but it was like kind of, I don't know though. But
you want to go first?
Go.
It looks like you was
Yeah,
well, she was talking. She was ready.
oh, well, all right. So here, yeah, it could be a good thing. I don't know about this particular organization just because I don't know about it. Just plain enough, don't know a thing about it. And in theory, I love the idea of community members. You know, people who care about their town, about their neighborhood, collaborating with law enforcement in a way that the people that are going to be in that area on that beat understand the people that are there, the kinds of problems, the kinds of social problems that affect them in a negative way, and then and also to know the very positive things about that area and the positive traits of the people in that area, no matter what their status is. So
there is also one piece of information I forgot to put in here. That this is a youth, the community people are youth-led.
okay.
And so what's the overall question?
Is it a good idea for...
Is this a good de-escalating tactic?
It's, I don't know if it's necessary. It's like a prevention for situations to escalate. So I don't know if it's necessarily it's like preemptive de-escalation in a way. But I mean, if this particular program just started, we're not going to know if it's a good thing or not until we get some results. Data about like what can we reasonably conclude are the results of this thing that we're doing. And stuff. In theory, though, I think that more engagement and back and forth between law enforcement agencies and members of the community, if both sides, are really invested in it and really do care, then they're going to listen to each other and they're not going to try to hinder a process that is meant to keep people safer. But it all depends on the municipality. It depends on the priorities of the people in that place, that are in charge, like the council people, the bureaucratic system there, it depends on all of that, and the people that are in the community and the initiatives that they take, the motivations and objectives that they have, the ideals and the values that they espouse to. It depends on so many factors, so it's like, but I'm all for people that want to build bridges and shit. Yeah, that's cool. building bridges is, I think, a pretty good thing most of the time.
London bridges.
You know,
Hi.
it was filled with the dead bodies. That's why.
History.
What do you think?
I think that it has a completely detrimental impact, and I think that it's completely destructive to trying to solve police brutality against poor communities of color, specifically black people, most of all, in America, because it has, first of all, no analysis or like confronting of the root cause of why police were created, how they function. Police are the enforcement arm of the people in power, and the system in power. So, you know, the police's job is to enforce the legal system, which is, you know, we know the history of it. It's the, you know, the United States is a settler colonial state based with its economy built on slaves. Our modern day multi-billion-dollar corporations are built out of that. We know they control the government through lobbying, through legislature. They chip away at it every year. We're facing extinction from climate change. We're facing the highest mass incarceration in the world at the highest rates. Like, you know, it's a crisis. You know, humanity's either going to survive or it's not, and a lot of it's based on what America does, because America is the biggest, most violent empire in the world. So I think it's like, to me, I'm just saying, they're going at creating trust between people who are upholding an institution that's going to enforce a system that by design destroys all of these children and communities. Without fault, it gets worse every year. This is called community policing, where they build trust with the people and they know, like, the police know the kids, etc., etc. But I've never seen any evidence that community policing works based on looking at the evidence about it. And I think what it more so shows is that it's basically an effective police propaganda technique, because the people believe that policing is good. It's like National Night Out. Police go out and play with all the kids, but you know, all the statistics about you know, the destruction of communities of color and poor families through mass incarceration and over policing and over criminalizing just gets worse and worse and worse. So I think it's terrible, because I think what you need to do is transform policing by stopping the criminalization of people for money. So that's not that. So I think it's propaganda. That was kind of a rant, but I think it's better.
Very nice. This was the question for you.
Yeah.
Right. That was really good insight, baby.
Yeah, I think not. I don't think it's a great idea. I don't think that there's really any way to improve it. I think that it benefits the police and not really the community.
Yeah, I think not as well, because it's my community, my hood. So you know what's going on in your hood. You know who's selling drugs. You know who's in gangs. You know what gang is here, what gang is there. So you're really informing the police. This is where they move. This is where you're just empowering them to enforce the law. But it doesn't play into the factor. Okay, why are they selling drugs?
Yeah.
Why did they make that decision? Do they have any other options? You know, that's not the role of police, to create other options and inform people on, you know, what they could be doing. It's more of, we're gonna arrest you. It's the cycle of it, you know.
Yeah, that's for sure.
I think it falls into that, and it's like you said, propaganda.
Yes. Although I do agree with everything that was said on the table for this round, also I want to add in, like, just imagining Chicago in this time now is a different, this is basically a war zone. especially for black men. So I understand the propaganda and all that part. Like, I wouldn't say it is the best thing, but I'm kind of struggling with this one because on a bigger scale, I would say no, I don't agree with it. But on a day-to-day type of even one life, a prevention of something, I do think officers should be, especially with the youth, and it couldn't hurt. I would say I'm down with it because, yeah, like I said, it's a war zone there, and it's like when you're in that type of trauma, and the police, yeah, they are the enemy, but we have to, at some point, I feel like it has to stop. So the more positive outlets, whether we think people are trying or not, I would rather see that than I would, even if, propaganda or not, I would rather see them out there trying to learn the names of the kids and all that, even if it's, even if it can save one life. Yeah, just being that you said Chicago, I just, that's it. Sure. Yeah, it's going down over there. Like, I mean, however I could save one of them kids, like, it's just, I mean, we got to pay attention to the times, like, that, I mean.
That might be too little too late.
But then that's very true.
I feel like we don't know. So at the end of the day, if I would have to either keep positive resources in a place where there's none, yeah, that's the best we can do. Because I hear what the boys were saying, and I hella totally agree, especially by knowing the history and all that stuff. But what I also know as the state of the world, like, this shit is not, we can't just go in love and light and doesn't change what this is. We're already, I feel like we're at some type of end game. Really, it's like something is about to happen. And being that all these incarcerations and all these deaths and all this, it can't continue to just reign and be shitty. We're not in hell. This is Earth. Like, something is going to happen. But at this point, to cut it off, it's gotten so bad, we can't just be like, I give up on them. And, like, they got to do something to get it right. And the youth of today are not the same youth as none of the generations that we have, and speaking for ourselves too. So some of those conversations with cops are going to look a lot different than it did 20, 30 years ago. So, I mean, to go with the times, I would say do these radical things that will change your life. Until we can get the power and reinforcement to be able to truly transform the police, we need to try to keep the heart and soul there. And I do think if they sit there with the youth, I'm not saying they're going to be snitching on them, but it's like, hey, they probably will think twice about, doing anything to them. They may not, but the statistics show that is like, you're not going to make it to fucking like 18 in Chicago being a black man. So I'm not going to,
I like what you said about keeping it positive, and they definitely should be getting to know each other.
Yeah.
But then also you said, I know they're the enemy. They shouldn't be the enemy. The police should not be the enemy.
Right.
They should not.
They shouldn't be. And we have to like how they said, the bridging of the gap. I think that is true. Like, even if it's new, building relationships, you can, teach how to love and all those things. And I think it is happening. And although we're not there yet, we have not had that success yet. We don't know the answers yet. But I can't say I just cannot expect the police to do it on their own. So if the youth can speak for themselves and, get their thing to be able to be revolutionary, I'm down to let it happen. Because I'm speaking like we're a part of that youth group. Like, we're down for whatever too, but we can't let history repeat itself over and over. We got to try something.
Yeah.
But I wanted to add something in about a program that, just before we move on to the next question, I didn't get to mention it, but there's a program in, I forget exactly where, Washington or Oregon. I think it's in Portland. Portland. But yeah, they have this this service that they've been doing. I forgot what it's called, but it's really cool. Where they it's like a collective group, so it's a cooperative that does like medical stuff, and then they expanded into like doing kind of a social services thing, where when you call the emergency the number, then you can ask for this group instead if it's something like a person with mental illness, or if you have your domestic situation going on, or if there's, you know, somebody just screaming out at 4 a.m. in the morning, and you know they can't get you don't know how to help them. They send these people out. Or they call 911. They say get such and such group out there, and then they send that team out there. Mm-hmm. They dispatch for them, and then that's reduced a lot of arrests and a lot of violence. Mm-hmm. For them there.
I like
Mike knows about it.
I like alternatives.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Evan?
Okay, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Don't be sorry. What was you sorry about?
Well, that was a good, good plug.
Mm-hmm.
I'll figure out the name.
Any final comments, or do you want to?
Well, he was going to say something.
Yes, I cannot allow people watching the podcast to have the final statement or argument be that this is a good idea. Look.
Oh.
Okay, you said we can't allow history to repeat itself, and there's so many young black people dying in Chicago, right? These types of reforms, body cams, police training, bias training, learning about the history, learning about the racism and implicit bias, community relations with the police, community meetings. This stuff has been happening for years and years and years, and it has just gotten worse. So when you say don't let history repeat itself, this type of effort, I know it's good intended by the youth, but ultimately it's not a correct understanding of the system. The fact is that they are enforcing a absolutely murderous and destructive system that is, we are in the midst of it destroying all human life on the earth. Whether people can have the emotional intelligence to like understand what that means, and police enforce that. The military enforce that. So when you talk about they can go out and be good and do X, Y, and Z, that's historically disproven. It's false because let me finish what I'm saying.
Finish.
I want to say
let me finish what I'm saying, because they're ultimately, no matter how, if I go be a police officer, no matter how nice I am or how much I love people, whatever, if I go, my job is to enforce the legal system of the United States, which is designed to trap poor people of color in internal colonies and destroy them for money and power. That's what it does, and that's what it's doing increasingly. So what I'm saying, the system, the elites want you to do that. They want you to do these types of like community relations programs instead of say today we're having no more of this. The police will be transformed.
When has that happened? Finish. But when has that happened? We can't talk fantasy.
I'm not talking fantasy. I'm talking about life or death.
But then you're saying we don't have the emotional intelligence.
Wait.
People
Let
have
him
not
finish.
done this
Let him
yet.
finish.
I never said you don't
So
have
go
the
ahead.
emotional
You did say
intelligence.
this to the people. Go ahead, because I hear you.
What I'm saying is it's difficult to emotionally grasp what the reality of what humanity faces. What I'm saying.
So with that,
Let me finish.
Keep going.
My point is that if we spend time doing these reforms, like we keep doing, voting for this, this thing in the state legislature, we're voting every election, we're doing these community reforms, we're relations, community meetings with the police, it prevents them from ever having to transform the exploitive structure of policing, and that's why they've never done it. And I think it's at the point where it's like either we have to do that or it's just going to stay the same.
Time out. Wait. Time out. Wait. I understand that. But until a system is set in place where people know how to do that, what he asked with this question, this group is already, well, hypothetically, we're saying like they're doing it. So is that yes or no, helpful or not? What you're saying, that's beautiful. It's great. We are trying to get. It's not great for you. But when we're talking about what people are actually doing, what they want to do, and what needs to be done, there's many different levels. I'm not saying, ultimately, we're saying that we all agree. We're trying to find out how we solve these problems. but we haven't yet. Now, the people that are trying to do positive ways, I'm not saying it's the right way, but I'd rather have something that they can go into that's going to help them stay alive. I'm not saying they haven't created any other outlet to do that's differently. But going around with no type of defense, that doesn't make any sense. So I hear you, and you're totally right. I agree. But until we have that system in play, and until it's actually done, it's not going to happen. And I think times like this, times like this, it's getting to an explosive point for that moment, for what you're searching for. It will happen, and it can happen, but it's not going to happen out of nowhere. Things need to play out. And at this moment, we are at a critical time, and it's going to be up to the youth, us and the youth, to live through and have this dream to be reality. What's happening now, just by the technology that we have, every time deaths happen, it's every fucking where. Protests are still happening. 50 states in America, all 50 states are still protesting. That has not happened in human history yet. Why? Because we have the accessibility to see all of this shit. Then we will be able to do something about it. We'll be able to, people will be like, oh, that's fucked up. Until then, we can't talk about fantasy. Like, until no one knows how to fix the problem. So we have to do whatever can be done. I'm not saying just do what hasn't worked, because I agree, it has not worked. But, for example, Chicago, it will save lives for youth to think another way than what we were saying, being fearful or this,
something.
For
the cop not to shoot them just because they know them.
And that will help.
Even though it plays into the system.
You could show me that statistic. That's not what I've seen. But
we can look into it. But
then
I also look at those statistics. It's
and I don't know
hard to live.
Also, would say I don't know enough of the details of the program. Maybe where they're working with those police to have conversations about like abolition of police as it stands, and taking all the majority of community resources and putting it into community health care workers and stuff. I would pretty much guarantee they're not, because police are diametrically opposed to that. But it is possible. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I hear you. I completely disagree.
Agree to disagree.
Wait, I had something to say before you.
But A
that's how they get us.
Huh? A then B. So I understand your historical view on policing, right? And how it all started.
And
right?
How it works right now.
And how it works right now.
Yeah.
So would abolishing the police, is that the answer?
Abolishing the police is a word, is a concept. So when I say abolishing the police, it means transforming how policing works by taking a lot of the resources that from armed police officers going and doing things like checking up on kids, going into schools, doing traffic stops, responding to homeless people, mentally ill people, right? And having health professionals deal with those things. And if someone really needs a weapon, a gun, there's conditions for that, but that's not the vast majority of situations. True. So I'm not saying have no police. I think police should go after like sex traffickers, people that are smuggling guns and like
drug dealers, gang members. There's a whole that's reality. You can't say that's not the truth of it.
Well, I wanted to.
You can. I know, but
I just want to be clear what I'm advocating. I'm saying abolition of police. It also has to do with putting money in communities so people aren't doing that. You know what I mean?
True, but you're not just going to stop that culture that surpasses the police.
I kind of see that it's going to end up happening.
Jazzy could just say a thing, and I
haven't talked this entire time.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm not mad at you,
Right,
baby.
so I
was frustrated. I want to say something.
I think
I wanted to say something too for a while.
You waited, everybody. Okay, so
Yeah, you waited.
I think that.
I think we're doing good.
What's going to end up, I think that what has to happen is the simultaneous programs. I don't think that that the police are going to just go away and then the vacuum is going to create this thing. I think that it has to be what the program that Amada brought up, and then people have to actually utilize those services while the police still stands and it's still there. So then the policing becomes something that isn't necessarily needed in that capacity. I think they have to be both sustained for a significant amount of time at the same time, like simultaneously, in order for it to actually eventually abolish the police and of policing communities and things like that. I don't think it can just be as simple as defund the police, because then there's going to create the vacuum. It is going to be a fucking war zone. It's going to be fucked up. If you just all of us, I personally, I live in a complex, right? A gated fucking complex with other people in apartments, hella close together, no yards. I share a wall with them, and I'm not gonna walk up in their house, you know what I mean, to like save their lives. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna walk into. And so like we don't even have the basics of community building in many many places, many cities, small towns maybe, but like I wouldn't trust half of the people in Stockton to police what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So like there has to be, I think, these programs that happen simultaneously, and where community is being built actively right now while the police still exist. Otherwise, it's going to be chaos, and people just. Oh,
and then corruption's just going to jump another fucking level. It's going to go from the police to you, whoever's the biggest in your community.
Exactly. What the heck happens in
biggest
war-torn
countries?
Really.
11-10.
World.
Okay. First, I want to apologize for yelling. I got frustrated, but that's because two people told me to. Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I was frustrated. I'm sorry. It's very frustrating. And this is a topic that gets everybody's
Especially
energy up, like, and crazy and erratic, because people are dying out there every single day and I hate being like saying on both sides, you know, it's like, and that's not to make fun of anybody with anything, but like to say how over said it's like, their families are always wondering if they're gonna make it home, and you know, let's feel sorry for every police officer that kills somebody and gets away with it now. You know, I don't like that. I don't feel that's like all of this sort of stuff is extremely wrong, and it does come up from a really fucked up place in the past. Collectively, we're not quite ready to fully talk about it yet, and to walk all the way back there to what that was. We're getting closer and closer with it every single cycle, and the cycles are moving faster and faster. The cycles are moving faster and faster, and we can, because we're human, and we will be frustrated, and we will get upset about every single time that it happens, and it's important not to become desensitized to it, and even when we are desensitized to it, understand that. And it's just like, so we're getting closer. We're bringing up more and more issues every single time that we go around, and I've been witnessing this since I become more and more aware of it, which was in the early 2000s. It's been getting deeper and deeper that the issues that we talk about. You know, collectively as a society. On the news, it's kept very 5 years ago at least. You know, from what people have been talking about with each other. So.
Or very 30 seconds. 30 seconds. You don't get the whole story.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, on the news and stuff. You're not going to get it from there. You're not going to get what people are actually talking about on the
what they're feeling, really. You'll get what they're talking about, but you won't understand what they're really feeling.
Yeah. So it's like, it is important for everybody to do what they think that they gotta do to get to the vision where this shit stops. You know? So, I mean, and so for some people that means that they're gonna be doing what the fucking sheriff in Wisconsin said, putting him in a fucking warehouse and letting him rot. That's what he said. People. Those people that do the crimes and have small children. Like, I forgot his stupid name. I don't care.
So crazy.
But, like, you know, some people think that's what it is. And some people think, you know, building more camaraderie and trust is what it is. Some people think whatever and stuff. But ultimately, we all have to figure it out for ourselves. And there are so many things that get in the way of seeing the truth. And the number one thing is thinking that other people are less than you, other people are worse than you, or other people are just like you. Those are the most dangerous things to think. Like, you know? Because so everybody's got to watch themselves and watch out for each other, and I think that we have been trying to do that. I think that's what's brought us to this point. Ultimately, if you look on the lighter side of things, to where we are having these conversations collectively, like that's where everything has brought us. That's where technology has brought us. That's where our values have brought us to this point. You know, curiosity and compassion and free speech and all of these things, and expression and being able to share those things. That's where everything has brought us so far, is to this point where we're having these discussions, and there are people that are so torn apart by what's happening that they got to be out there every day, or every day that they can, working towards something different. That's where we're at. And
Amen.
What's crazy too is that like you have this system that benefits financially from all of the bodies that go into prison, but then even like which are, you know, the population of black bodies in these prisons, these people that are there, it's crazy. But then also that like there's so many officers that it's so crazy. It's a trip because it's like it's all part of the same system, but they're effectively like losing a lot of money every time they kill a black person. You know what I mean? For the system in play, and so then that kind of, to me, like on a like deep level, that shit is also painful, because it's like this body isn't even worth, you know, to be exploited, you know, in that way, which is fucked up too.
Which they might have a second thought of, maybe we shouldn't kill them.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's not anything rational.
Yeah,
this is something that is just consuming. It's just not even out of hatred or anything, just to consume it and stuff. And it's like you could put any group, you could switch any group. It's just that our history lends itself towards, just makes it easily bend towards black and brown people in this country. Like, that's just that's it. And that's why people, you know, I think that's one of those things.
I'm going to wrap this up because I'm about to run out of battery.
Okay.
Let's go!
Thank you for listening. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when the next episode is out.